Gonna go live in probably 10 seconds. I also just want to encourage you guys, just be as candid as you want. A lot of people are gonna be happy to hear your points of view, especially from people who look like them. So just be real, be as real as you want, be as, reserved, whatever you want. It's your platform. And we are live. Cool. So what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Black Kids White Coats YouTube channel. My name is Nelson. I'm one of the co-hosts. I am a newly graduated physician, I guess, going to radiology. And we have Adama, who's our other co-host. Introduce yourself. Hello.
Hello.
She's a resident fighting the good fight.
You know, with my straight backs and my undone eyebrows, but we're out here.
It's real. Yeah. And so today we have with us some newly matched physicians going to internal medicine. Just going to introduce them real quick. We have Trent. He's going to be going to Johns Hopkins Hospital. We have Derek going to Cincinnati, and we have Yejide going to Northeast Medical Center in Georgia, correct?
Yep.
Hey, awesome.
That's team.
So welcome to you guys. To start off, we always want to just start with kind of a broad open-ended question, asking you guys about your journey. So tell us your journey. What led you guys up to where you are today? And we let the ladies go first.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yejide. I went to actually an osteopathic school, so BCom in the Carolinas, and originally from Nigeria, and I've always wanted to be a doctor. I think that's the Nigerian story. And I actually chose an osteopathic medical school because I really like the holistic OMT treatment plan, especially because initially I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon, but I didn't like surgery, so but med school was good. This is my first time living in the South because I've been in Maryland and like DMV, so living in the South was definitely a change for me, especially like being only 3 Black people in a class of 163. So is there anything else I was supposed to say? Oh, the next person, I guess.
Yep. Who's next?
I can go next. So, hi everyone. My name's Derek. I'm from Indianapolis. My family comes from Ghana, so I always claim Ghana.
Don't hold it against you.
Yeah.
Don't hold it
It's the
against
right
you, buddy.
It's the right so anyway, so yeah, I'm from Indianapolis. I went to Indiana University for undergrad, and then I moved down to Cincinnati for medical school just to get kind of a change of scenery a little bit. Ohio isn't the biggest difference from Indiana, but it was still different. So I went there. I was always inspired to go into medicine by my dad. My dad was a physician, so he always kind of encouraged me on the path to medicine. And as I explored it more in undergrad, I really got interested in the field. Going through medical school, I was kind of thinking internal medicine or one of the subspecialties. I did think about surgery for a while, but then I did one like anatomy pro section. I was like, I'm never doing surgery ever.
Gotta get you.
But yeah, it's been a really interesting, kind of long journey, but medical school actually went by a little bit faster than I thought it would. But yeah, it's my journey.
Hey everyone, I'm Trent Johnson from Orlando, Florida. Medicine for me, according to my grandfather, I always wanted to be a doctor. He told me this story where I was a toddler and I told him that he asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I said I was going to be a doctor. And he said to me, I don't know how you're going to do that or what it's going to look like, but I'm going to do the best I can to support you. And here I am today, trying to do the best I can to contribute to the field of medicine. So I'm from Orlando, Florida, but not like the Disney World Universal, like is peaches and cream. It's nice. I grew up in a neighborhood that definitely suffered from health disparities, and I knew I wanted to always give back to them. So I was blessed to be honored and offered a position at the Ohio State College of Medicine. But my path to medicine was not traditional. I took a lot of pit stops, which I'm sure we'll talk about later today. Ultimately, I decided on internal medicine because I knew that that's the field that could get me to where I want to go long term. And I'm sorry, I don't have one of the cool African countries that I can rep.
It's all good, but you do have a background though, which is lit.
Well, Orlando, 407, we can rep that.
It's warm.
Is it warm?
It's warm, right? Always.
I'm saying it's warm. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you all for that. Next, I want to transition. You know, a lot of us have gone through hardships on the journey, and want to talk about that. I'm sure you all have as well. But go ahead, just describe some of the hardships you've gone through, and how you overcame them, and kind of what you learned from it. Anybody could start.
All right, I can start. Man, do I have a bunch? So
you got time.
So I guess
Hard out here.
I would say, looking at it from just med school, that first like biochemistry course that you take in med school, like taking like your first classes, man, it was bad. My first 2 tests were bad. I remember like going in, taking the test, I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty hard. And obviously I didn't do well. But then you look and like the rest of your class did well. And it's just like, what the heck? Like, okay, like maybe that was just, first run through med school. Maybe I'll figure it out the next test. Then I took the next test and that didn't work. And I was just like, maybe med school is not for me. Like, and it was kind of like mentally it was pretty draining because it's like, you work so hard in undergrad and whatever pit stops you may take to get into med school. And to kind of think like, wow, first few weeks and it's already like looking like it's going to go down the toilet. So that was pretty hard. But luckily at my school, we had a lot of like faculty and mentors to come help us. And there were a lot of upperclassmen that we could talk to and things like that they were kind of helping me through. They would essentially say, hey, we all did bad on the first test. A lot of us did bad on the second and third test, but like, here's how you can get through it. And the big thing that I learned, particularly like in a study perspective, is you can't be afraid to try something new. So what I like to do originally was, if I studied one way and it didn't work, I would do the same exact thing, but harder. So I learned that was not smart. I have to be confident and brave enough to say, all right, option A didn't work. I can't go to option 2A. I got to try option like M or something like that. I got to try something completely.
Sometimes it'd be like that.
And eventually, once I may go through the whole alphabet, but even if I get to T and it's T that works, we're sticking with T for that entire block. So to me, that was kind of how I overcame it. It was just having the confidence to be able to try something new, kind of take that leap of faith of doing something new and doing something different.
That's dope. And that is real.
I think for me, I suffer from imposter syndrome. Guilty. Thanks for the welcome. My background, I don't come from a line of doctors and people who could really guide me and tell me, all right, you do this next, and then you do this next, you do next. I take a lot of shots in the dark, and I hope something sticks. But what I do have is I have the support system I have is unmatched. My family and my friends and the people that encourage me, they were a godsend. People always say to me, like, I'll call my mom and say, oh, I did this, or I got into this, or my dad, I got into this. And they'll always say, oh, I already knew. Like, how did you know? Because they have the ability to push me forward. And I didn't realize how important that was until I got to med school. And I suffer from the imposter syndrome. I'm in a majority white environment at my med school. I go to Ohio State. And there are times where I felt like, how did I end up here? I don't know this stuff. That exam question is hard. That board score is underwhelming. And constantly having to remind myself that I deserve to be here because my ancestors said so. And my family and my friends support me has helped me get over that tough score I might have gotten, or get over that like weird comment that someone might make during this season where it's like, are you sure you're gonna apply there? You sure you're gonna do that? Like, yes, I am sure. And I'm gonna put on my big boy underwear and do it because I have the weight of my family and my friends behind me. I think that is so important for all of you out there listening who don't know what the next step is. Lean on the people around you. They'll help you get there.
Yeah, I think I've had a similar similar story as well. I've always had like an issue with imposter syndrome. So mine actually goes back to University of Maryland, which is my undergrad. And I remember when I was trying to apply for med school, my advisor was like, "Oh, don't apply to med school. I don't think you're gonna get in." And so I was like, okay, I was kind of disappointed, and so I actually didn't even apply because, if the person who's supposed to be my counselor told me not to apply, then obviously they're seeing something I'm not seeing. And so I actually graduated with my bachelor's in public health, and I like worked for a year. And so like I've always wanted to be a doctor, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe like at that time I really didn't believe in myself, but finally I spoke to like my parents. I'm like, oh, I think I should do like a post-bac program. So I did a 1-year post-bac program, and in the post-bac program I excelled so much. And I think it was during that program that I finally kind of saw what I could do, and I was able to like believe in myself and just kind of let go of the past negativity that has been spoken over me. And so with a post-bac program, I actually got an automatic acceptance into the med school. And so I didn't actually have to apply for the next cycle. So I just like got in straight up. I didn't have to like do the entire application or like the interview season. And so when I did get into med school, I was very confident because, I was able to like lease post-bac, but it was kind of different because I think my first taste of like a punch in the gut was when biochem in med school that first year. It was tough, but I was able to like go through it, and I didn't fail any classes or repeat any classes, but it was hard because I had to change a lot of my study styles, and I think a lot of it had to do with like mental fortitude, because I had to be able to kind of encourage myself, especially as I said before, my class is 163 and only 3 Black girls, and so a lot of times when I didn't understand something, I didn't feel like I could speak out as much because I didn't want to be the Black person who doesn't understand. And so, most times I would, try to talk to my other classmates, especially like, my other friends. And what really helped me was having like a study group and like going back to my study group, and we had to explain things to each other and talk it out. And also I had a very good mentor, especially the upperclassmen, about 5 or 7 African Americans, which is an improvement. So that was good. And I remember throughout med school, it's always been very difficult because, again, my school's in South Carolina. And so there's just been a lot of cultural differences to navigate.
That's a nice way to say
Way to put it.
That's real, though. That's real.
Differences.
So it took me a while to know how to, like, tastefully navigate that difference in culture. Especially because in Maryland, DC, Virginia, it's very diverse. So you don't really think about, races, which you do, but not as much as you would if you were like deep South. So, but I think through it all, my faith played a big part for me. I'm a Christian, and that's been a big pillar of support for me and my family, of course. But my faith in God, really helps me through as well.
Yep. Shout out to families for the support.
Hey, shout out to
trans mom who's watching right now. And
You must be so proud.
Right. Also, shout out to different study techniques and not being afraid to switch it up. That's the name of the game. So, do you have a question, or should I ask the next one?
I wanted to ask, because you all kind of touched upon it a little bit, if you could give advice on someone who's trying to navigate a space that is culturally different. And I know that could even generate some feelings of imposter syndrome, and we know about like affirmative action and all of that. So do you all have tips on navigating through those kind of experiences?
I do. I think my advice would be to stay true to who you are. Know who you are and know what you stand for. For me, I know that's taking care of patients in vulnerable populations, whether that's African American populations, immigrant populations, trans populations, whatever the population may be. I know that that is my passion. That is why I wake up every morning. That is why I go to medical school. That is why I do what I do. You're gonna have people that come at you all different angles, from left, right, up, down. But if you stay true to who you are, it's like hater blockers. You won't even see them. Like, they're in your way, but it's fine because you know what you are passionate about. And that's what matters most. Where I go to school, OSU, it's in the Midwest, and it's no South Carolina, but it's probably not that. It's probably not that
The
much
Ohio
different.
State.
It ain't South Carolina, but it is a place that suffers from the lack of diversity. And I know that for my classmates and the attendings that I work with, and the nurses and all of the staff that I work with, I bring to the table a level of character and diversity that they maybe don't get to see that often. And I'm proud of that. And if they see it that day, I'm happy. If they don't see it that day, guess what? Tomorrow's another day. So don't let one day shape your entire character. Stay true to that, and that'll get you through some of the comments you'll hear.
Yeah, I definitely agree with him. I think remembering who you are and what kind of person you want to be, and also what kind of doctor you want to be. Because I think what always takes me back is I do want to know, I do want to be educated and have the information I need to be the best possible physician. And I kind of have to be twice as much, like, twice as much, and be, twice as compassionate, and have twice as much empathy, and be able to connect to my patient. So I think, as Trent said, knowing who you are and having a vision board, that has really helped me, because sometimes, especially during really tough days, I'll kind of go back to my vision board, and my vision board has kind of what I want, like what I'm looking forward to do, what my plans are, and kind of reminds me of what I want to do, especially because I'm originally from Nigeria, and I grew up in a really, really bad I don't know if you guys have been to Nigeria, but the health disparities there is really bad. And so sometimes I just talking to family from Nigeria, I think God always has a way, because the days I'm having my worst day, I'm always getting a call from someone in Nigeria telling me how crappy the health system is. And that kind of just motivates me, yo, you got to do something. Yes, right now, today was crappy, but in the next 5 years, it's going to be different. And, just get as much as you can. And you're paying a lot of money to these people, so you might as well get as much as you can. I think that when I think about my loan money too, this is too much money.
Don't think about it. Don't worry about it.
It's too much money, and I have to get as much as I can, and I can't let them stop me, because there's too many people rooting for me, and too much at stake. I've put a lot of sweat and hard work and money, and no one is going to take that away from me. So I think remembering what you want, and as he said before.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone said. Just to kind of build upon that, with how much stuff goes on in medical school and how much stress goes on with whether it be classes or certain rotations with longer hours, it's very, very easy to lose sight of why you came in here in the first place. So you always want to remember, what were my goals coming into medical school? Why did I want to do this? Whether you're someone who's interested in global health, healthcare disparities, what have you, you need to make sure that those always stay firm in mind. And particularly if you're going to a PWI medical schools, always look for people that look like you, whether they be, if you're a first year and you need to connect with fourth years, so be it, whether it be third years or whatnot. We're always here to help each other in those different types of things. And they can really expand upon a lot of the things that they've experienced. They're probably going to be experiencing a lot of the same things that you're experiencing, whether it be faculty. I don't know how great other schools' offices of diversity and inclusion are, but that's been an amazing resource for me at Cincinnati. Those are amazing people that you can come and talk to, particularly if you have any problems. Microaggressions are unfortunately a part of medical school, whether it be from patients, classmates, attendings, residents. It's going to happen to you. So being able to have that kind of space where you can echo it, whether it be your family or faculty or other medical students, whether they be in your class or outside your class, is a really big part to kind of just ease yourself mentally, because there's a lot of mental stresses that are going to be coming on. Like, we have to deal with the racism and microaggressions on top of it. It just makes things so difficult. So having that space and having someone to talk to, for me, has been incredibly helpful.
Awesome. Some of the viewers know I am the acronym police. So you said BWI there. Could you go ahead and just tell us what that is?
Oh, it's a predominantly white institution. So essentially, the vast majority of your classmates are going to be white.
Mm-hmm.
Got you. Yeah, I feel you. All right, so thank you guys for that. Those are very good answers, and hope some of the viewers, had some takeaways from that. So kind of moving forward, the field of internal medicine is in some ways like the archetype of like the stereotypical doctor, right? You're rounding, you're seeing all these patients, and in some ways that makes it one of the more difficult fields as well when you're actually in the hospital. So, what drove you guys to that field of medicine, and what do you guys want to specialize, in, if anything?
Okay, I can start. So for me, I know a lot of people don't like the long rounding and the thinking and the talking that comes with it. I love it. I love being able to be essentially, we're almost like, depending on you are like the ED docs see them, but in terms of like being the primary team for the majority of a lot of patients, it's going to be internal medicine. And I loved it. I love being able to connect with patients on the inpatient side. I like being able to see them on the outpatient side. To me, the whole thinking like, hey, maybe it's a kidney, maybe it's a heart problem. Like, what is going on with this person? I love that type of stuff, and I love being able to talk about those different types of things. And I loved all the opportunities that you can have outside of internal medicine. A lot of people joke that if you're undecided on what specialty you want to do, go into internal medicine because it's essentially an extra 3 years for you to decide what you want to do, because there's cardiology, there's GI, there's rheumatology, endocrine, all these different types of subspecialties that you can do. So for me as well, I was really interested in the subspecialties. I came into med school thinking, oh, maybe I want to do cardiology, but now having gone through internal medicine and then some of the subspecialties, I'm like, oh, maybe I want to do GI, or maybe I want to do pulmonary, all stuff I kind of want to figure out during residency. But for me, medicine, it was just the breadth and the diversity and the being able to see patients on not only the inpatient side, but the outpatient side as well.
Going off what Derek said, I think for me, I know it's the opportunity that come with internal medicine. So there was a pivotal point for me, and to all of you that are out there listening, this may come to you, and it's okay if it happens. It came to me when I was trying to decide surgery versus medicine. It was a true, like, I don't know, on the phone with my dad, like, I don't know what I'm about to do, and I'm type A, and we always know what we're about to do. So I had to think long-term when I made that decision. And long-term was, I see myself in a position of healthcare leadership. One day I hope to lead some sort of major hospital healthcare system so that I could have a seat at the table for the patients that matter the most to me. And I knew that as much as I like surgery and being in the operating room, sewing down a valve or anastomosing a vessel for hours on end was probably not was not how I envisioned my life. Not saying you can't get to where I want to go doing that, but it was not how I envisioned my life and the things that I valued personally. And so internal medicine fit more with my lifestyle, and it lined up with where I saw myself in the future. And long term, I'm still going to do cardiology because that's the only thing you should do. But that's a personal preference. My passion does lie in cardiology, and that's because of my background, my family. Their experience with heart disease and cardiovascular disease is near and dear to me. But ultimately, I chose internal medicine for the opportunities that I see that it will present in the future.
Yeah. I chose internal medicine for similar reasons. To me, it's always been a puzzle. When a patient comes in, you don't know what they have, and you kind of have to figure out the puzzle and like put in the right pieces. And I just like the thrill of like figuring out what diagnosis it is. I feel like with other specialty, you kind of have like half the work done for you already. I guess.
No shade. No shade. No shade. Oh my God.
But when it's I do like a book, but it's been very interesting around it and interacting with patients. And I think you have an opportunity to like educate the patients and have like a one-on-one relationship with your patients. And eventually, I do want to do rheumatology. Do a 2-year fellowship in rheumatology, and I really like internal medicine right now. And that's it.
Awesome. Well, thank goodness for y'all, because I mean, I'm glad y'all can do that. And I can hear the passion in your voices. Yeah, I can hear the passion in your voices for sure. So no better people to be on the front lines. Absolutely. So kind of moving forward, Adam, do you have anything?
No, I was just gonna say,
Okay.
It takes a special person to do that rounding for hours on end.
It's not that bad. Come on.
It's not that bad.
So
It kind of depends on the attending, but still, it's not.
get you a nice, comfy pair of shoes, because y'all gonna need them.
Right.
All right. So, in addition to the family we talked about, that's such an important part of the support system. Mentors also are very important and instrumental part of, of where you are now. So can y'all talk about your road to finding a mentor, your experience with a mentorship, and any advice to people who are seeking a mentor?
Don't get stressed out looking for that one person. Like, I gotta put my blinders on and find that one person. For me, like I said earlier, I've been taking shots in the dark and hoping something sticks, because this is I'm doing something that not many people in my surroundings have done before. But that doesn't mean that I can't lean on them for support. So my mentors have sort of morphed around like what I'm going through in life. So that's my friends and my family trying to figure out, all right, from the small things, like how are you going to, something as simple as get to college? What does it look like? How do you get an apartment? How are you going to move to this master's program in case? To when you get to medical school, all right, how are you going to interact with your classmates? How are you going to prepare for these board exams? I mean, I've had mentors be my own classmates. So I think that sometimes we have a view of like a mentor as a person that's a spot much further along than us, when they can be someone that's like on your equal plane. So like, you took that exam 3 months before me, so you might know a little bit more about how to prepare for it than I do. I can still look to you for guidance and advice. So my mentors have come from an array of experiences, and most recently, my mentor has been one of the doctors I've been working with at the free clinic in Columbus. He sits on the board of the hospital system where I go to school, and he's been guiding me and telling me different things to do to align my values and where I see myself in the future with my residency program. So you can find them anywhere in life. Don't get zoned into thinking that it's one time, one person. Be open to the options of other people around you helping you get to where you want to go.
Yeah, I kind of want to echo that point, because for me, I've definitely had different mentors for different situations. Like, I've had upperclassmen that are telling me, hey, like, on this test, they're going to ask about this, or hey, like, when you go on the wards, be prepared for that. I've had faculty members who weren't in my specialty that would tell me, hey, like, we ask letter of recommendation from this person or letter of recommendation from that person. Really, to me, I've only had one kind of mentor that was in my specific field, and to me, she was a godsend, because she was always with me. She was texting me a lot with like, hey, how are you feeling about interviews? Like, good luck on your interviews. I'm excited to write your letter of recommendation. She texted me on match day to see where I was going. So she's been fantastic. But for me, in terms of looking for mentors, there are different mentors for different situations and different stages in your life. You can have mentors for your academic life. You can have mentors for your social life, depending on whatever you're going to. And you can always lean on family members, whether that be siblings, parents, or what have you, and lean on friends and classmates and stuff like that that are going to help you through the bad times. So I think one thing that I've always thought, especially going through college, is that you're going to have one specific mentor that knows everything and will fix everything for your life. That mentor will serve as the academic, life, emotional, mental mentor. And later on, I've learned that one person can't really do all that for you. So there are different mentors for different situations. So you just have to seek that out and look for who's going to serve some of those roles for you.
Same as well. I've had different mentors for different needs. Usually I go to someone I see where I want to be. So for example, if it's someone that I kind of see my future, or like a version of my future that I want in her, like in career wise, then I kind of connect to that person. And sometimes different people have different strengths, so knowing like what each mentor's strength is. Some mentors are like kick you in the butt and like tell you the truth and like very like no chaser and like very blunt, and others you need like will cuddle you a bit, you know, be nice and sweet. And so knowing when to go to whom, and also like having enough emotional intelligence to know what you need at the time. Like, do you need someone to kick you in the butt and like be honest with you, or do you need someone to kind of be kind and be a little bit, you know, nice and make you feel a bit better? So I think it's very good to have like different mentors, and different mentors will serve different purposes. But eventually you want someone that you kind of look up to, or someone, there has to be something in that person that you want, or there has to be something in that person that you want for yourself, because you don't want to have a mentor that's not really adding anything, or it's just like negative or always beating you up. So there has to be something they're bringing to the table that's making your life a little better.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to have a mentor whose shoulder I can lean on and cry on after all that rounding.
Hey,
oh,
now y'all better leave my profession alone.
Rounding alone.
To stop.
Yeah.
After all that, what could they have? Could they have a foot ulcer, or could they be dying? I don't know.
Stop. Might be both, but
it might be
both.
both.
Figure it out.
One's gonna be higher on the differential than others.
Oh my goodness! Differential list like this long.
That's so
On deck. Won't miss nothing.
Our notes are now. I'll say that's the one thing I don't like. Our notes are hella long compared to everybody. Surgery notes are like 5 words.
Barely.
Are they breathing? Are they alive? Can they flatulate? Yes.
No disrespect, Trent, but cardio notes aren't the best either.
You know what? Because I'm gonna table that.
All right, we'll get back to it.
Their notes.
All right, so.
Oh, okay.
This ain't about me.
HIPAA violation. Well, yeah. All right, so we do have a question from the live chat. So somebody was asking, so what myths do you hear about being in internal medicine, or any common misinterpretations about your chosen career field?
Say that again?
What are some myths you hear about, internal medicine, or any common misinterpretations about it? Rounding is not one of them.
I was about to say that rounding takes forever. Does not take that.
Right. I hear a lot of people say we can't make up our minds and we can't make decisions quickly. We can. When it's about to hit the fan, things move quickly. Like, we don't sit around and twiddle our thumbs often, but I do see people, I do hear my friends in surgery talk about, your internal medicine docs, y'all sit around and you wait a long time. When things hit the fan, we can move quickly.
I think probably the one thing I would probably say is that we don't do that many procedures. One, that will definitely depend on whatever subspecialty you do. So if you do cardiology or GI, you're going to be doing a bunch of procedures. But if you're doing general internal medicine, I mean, obviously you're not doing the amount of procedures that someone in surgery is going to be doing. But there are still things like the residents at our institution, they'll do paracentesis. Our hospitals can do paracentesis, putting in central lines, doing spinal taps, all those different types of things are all things that a general internist can do. So it's not a procedure-free specialty. There are still some procedures that you'll do. They won't be as huge and robust as something you'd see out of neurosurgery or plastic surgery or something like that. But there are still some procedures you can do in medicine. I
agree. The procedures and also like physical exam, we do very excellent physical exam, and we do have some procedures that we get done. I think those are some of the misconceptions that people have. I think that I've heard is like, oh, you guys don't do enough procedures, or like you guys don't do enough physical exam, which is not true.
Cool. So kind of moving forward in the timeline and the process. So third year, right? You have to do rotations. Can you tell me about your experience with away rotations? How many did you do? How would you say that, you know, you should, how do you excel at those rotations for anybody watching? I know rounding's gonna be part of it, but I'll wait to hear.
It's not, I'm not gonna say rounding.
All right, go ahead. Who wants to start?
I can start. So, I mean, the beauty of medicine is we don't have to do away rotations. If there's a specific, we're taught that if there's a specific region of the country that you want to go to. So, for example, I'm from the Midwest. I go to a Midwest institution. So it can be particularly difficult if I want to go to a school in California, or if I want to go to school in New York City or Boston. Those were the instances where we were told, if that's why you want to do an away rotation, so you can go to a school in California, that's why you do it. But other than that, away rotations generally aren't required for internal medicine. In terms of shining on things like your regular third year rotation or your sub internship, which is essentially a kind of like a mini 4-week like residency where you act as one of the interns on the medicine team. It's really about showing up early, making sure you pre-round your patients, know everything about your patients, and then coming up, at least attempting to come up with a plan. Like when I came up with a plan for my patients, I always made sure to run it by my senior to make sure I didn't sound like a complete fool. So I think that's really the big thing. And then doing some of the little things, just like, hey, it's like 1 o'clock or something like that. I'm just going to check to see how my patient's doing. Something that a lot of times the interns or the seniors won't have time to do because they're so busy with other things, but you as a med student have time to do those things. So kind of just checking up on your patients and different things like that, and then writing good notes and doing good physical exams.
So I came from like an osteopathic medical school, and so I was mostly applying to allopathic med schools, which is like from DOs to MDs. So I did a lot of audition rotations because I'm a DO, and I was applying to mostly MD schools, and so I did a few audition rotations, and also because I was applying out of state. To shine doing your third year clerkship, come in on time, don't come late. Round on your patient beforehand. So usually I will come like an hour or like an hour and a half before, and it seems like a lot, but usually you feel a lot better if you're prepared doing you just feel a lot better, and you shine more. You have time to like research, or like when you come in, check their labs, check their imaging, check, all the checklists that was written the day before. Like, let's like make sure you check the labs and what like other specialties have said. Check all that, write in your notes. And so even if it's not your patient, but if they bring that patient up, what happened, when everyone else was away, talk to the nurses. So get good notes from your nurses as well. Let them know like what happened overnight. And so even, when you guys are rounding and your attendant asks about a patient, even if it's not a patient that you're still able to like chip in and, give valuable information that helps you stand out too. Always have a good plan. Make sure that you check your labs regularly, especially because your residents might not be able to check labs and imaging, or they might not know when it's back. And so just being on top of that and just be helpful. Don't come late, and be cool. Like, don't be weird. Don't like be nice. Like, don't be like, be okay. Like, be normal.
I feel it.
And like be a people person, get along with people, and just be cool, I guess.
And going off what Yetta J said, I'm gonna say it a little bit more candid. Read the room. Don't be that person. Read the room, know the audience. Everyone in the medicine setting wants to teach you. So be the teachable student. No one likes a know-it-all. No one likes, well, I read it in this chapter, so it's this and only this. Sometimes it's okay to sit back and just listen to what people are saying, because that proves that you're teachable. And that's a very admirable trait to have, especially in medicine. In terms of fourth year away rotations, I did away rotations, one, because I wasn't sure what New York City was about. I was like, if I'm gonna put them on my list as potential place to move to, I need to see what this is all about, because I don't wanna just move somewhere based off of a one-day interview. So I did that rotation in New York City. And then I also did another rotation that was basically centered around vulnerable populations. Again, it was addiction medicine because my university didn't offer anything like that. And I thought it would be a very valuable thing to have as a physician moving forward. So that's why I selected that rotation. Ways to excel during away rotations. I took more of the personable approach, and I actually I met with people when I was there who were in positions in which I wanted to be. So I would send emails out to whoever it may be, like even the CEO. Hey, I'm visiting from Ohio. That's always going to catch someone's attention. Can we meet for lunch to talk about XYZ? Or the resident that you really hit it off with, hey, can you talk to me about how you developed your rank list? Like I always tried to find ways to connect with the people that were there because I knew that if I ranked them and I matched there, those are gonna be my colleagues. So I wanted to really mesh with them well. Obviously you gotta read and you gotta come prepared and you gotta do all these other things, but every other medical student is doing that as well. You gotta figure out a way to separate yourself from everyone else. And for me, it was developing personal relationships with the people that were in positions where I wanted to be.
You had a point.
Oh no, I was gonna say that you guys or you all are all right. Like even though you're a third year or fourth year medical student, you being a part of the team, even just going to go see the patient can help your senior, your intern, like by leaps and bounds. So just showing up and being present is really important.
That's real because, as a medical student, you have that cushion, right? You're not a doctor. So for me personally, a lot of times I was like, they can function totally 100% without me. I didn't really understand how much I could contribute to the team. Only fourth year, I realized, wow, like you could lighten the load for your resident or your attending by a lot. Even just going to see a patient, typing up a note, anything.
You don't
Yeah,
understand. Like as an intern, when I found out I had a student,
Hey.
so happy. I never saw the patient, so it does not go unnoticed unless you're lazy.
Right.
Then it goes unnoticed.
In the worst way, yeah. But yeah, cool. Thank you all for that. So another question in the live chat, someone asked, are there any specific conferences for the field of internal medicine? Or just any conference in general that have helped you guys?
So for us in Ohio, we have the Ohio division of what's called the American College of Physicians, or ACP. And then every year they have like an abstract contest that occurs in October, I think. So when I did it, I started mine during like like February of my third year and kind of worked on that. And then I went to the conference. It was regional up in Columbus, and we made a poster. You got to present that, and then if you won first place, I think for that poster, you got to go to the national conference, which didn't happen this year because of coronavirus. So to me, that's the one internal medicine conference, purely internal medicine conference that I know of. I also know that there are a bunch of conferences for the subspecialties. So there's the ACC for cardiology, or Digestive Disease Week for GI, or the HEMON conferences and stuff like that. So ACP, or American College of Physicians, that's the main one for general internal medicine, and then all of the subspecialties have their own different conferences.
I didn't go to any specific IM conference, but I did go to the SNMA conference, and that was very helpful. I went during my fourth year, or going into my fourth year, and that was very helpful because I was able to make some networking, and that came in handy, especially with my audition invitation. So I would definitely highly recommend SNMA. Maybe not this one. I mean, I guess this one is still on, right? So
yeah, it's online.
Okay.
It's virtual, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe the next one, I definitely would recommend going to the SNMA. And for those who want to do fellowship, I know going to the individual specialties and their organizations, I think those can be very helpful as well.
Great, cool. So kind of moving forward, one question. No, we answered we answered the pros of the field already, but can you all each give me one or two cons, like the biggest negatives of the field in your eyes? None.
Must be all good. Look, we over here trying to come up with something. No, just kidding. I know. One con that I can foresee is it's a huge field, so we don't benefit from the smaller, tight-knit fields like ear, nose, and throat surgery or plastic reconstructive surgery. So you can get lost out here. So I know one of the things that I'm nervous about, and I've been this way my entire path, is connecting with the right mentors within the field of internal medicine that's so large to get me to the next step.
I think also with internal medicine, you're kind of the jack of all trades in a way. And so that can be a little bit challenging, trying to know as much about all the specialties or the internal specialties as much as you can. And it's a lot of knowledge, and sometimes that can be a little bit overwhelming, I think, being the jack of all trades sometimes.
Yeah, I think piggybacking off of that, yeah, being the whole jack of all trades can be really frustrating. And then at times, for general internal medicine, particularly when you have to consult like 5 different teams for a patient with that one problem, that could be really frustrating because now you're waiting to follow up on ortho, or you're waiting up to follow up on ENT, and all these different teams that are taking care of this one patient. And one thing that my colleagues that, we're going into surgery and stuff like that, express that I say, okay, I agree with you on that, is like, for us, if there's a problem, we just go in and fix it ourselves. For a lot of the stuff that we have to do, like if someone has a broken bone or something like that, we can't fix that. We have to go call ortho or someone like that to fix that. And then we're essentially at their mercy. So that at times can be frustrating for medicine.
And also it has a lot of social work. I didn't realize how having to place patients or like who accepts which patients, trying to look for a place to place them, or like patients with different issues. So it's a lot of paperwork, a lot of almost secretarial work almost. So that can be a little bit exhausting because you have to like the medical aspect and then also the whole social aspect of trying to get the patients either like situated or like trying to get someone to take the patient. So that can be a little bit exhausting too.
Got it. Great answers. For a second, I thought you were going to say none. No names.
I mean, I was down. I was just waiting on my colleagues.
Oh, man. All right. So another question here. So given the current climate, given the COVID pandemic here, a lot of underclassmen in terms of M1s, M2s, M3s, and some M4s have been directly impacted. And, there's some M1s now who are either summer plans have been kind of just thrown in the wind. Do you have any advice for any M1s? Let's say their research opportunities have been canceled or anything has been canceled. Their plans for summer are now canceled. Do you have any advice for them?
Godspeed.
I think for the underclassmen M1s, M2s, and M3s, stay true to yourself. Like your application, whatever things you have in that application that are you, that like you will die on top of the hill for, keep doing those things. Programs understand that you can't do that away, and it's fine. They understand that you can't do that research opportunity, and it's fine. But when you are creating and curating your application, just make sure that it reads you. And it's tough, but we will get through this. And I think programs are very, very forgiving. In terms of research, certain things just can't occur right now.
Yeah.
And everyone understands that. I don't have an answer for that, but I will say once we get through this, showing that you go back to that can be a character trait that programs can pick up on. Like, this person is committed to this project, or this person is committed to continuing forward. They're not giving up. They have resilience. I think that's something to look forward to. Sorry, I don't have like the greatest answer.
No, that's good. You can also like use this time as groundwork. So like do research, personal research on what kind of research you would like, and send emails and, you know, write papers if you want about what you've seen or what you're interested in. And so when the country's back up, you can kind of know where you want to apply to, like what kind of research opportunities are available. As he said, it's a pandemic, so there's not so much you can do, but you can just do some groundwork and some minor research and kind of know what you want to do as well.
Yeah,
Go
in the research perspective, it's kind of pretty hard, but yeah, I agree. Kind of just exploring, looking at different types of stuff that you think you may be interested in. If there's a particular subspecialty that you think you may want to do research in, that would be just a good time. I mean, obviously you can't shadow right now, but just to read a little bit more up in online or in different things like that. And then also, I don't know how other people's institutions are, but at least at Cincinnati, they're offering a lot of volunteer opportunities that we can do. In terms of this aspect, like there are a lot of phone lines that we could do for patients that have questions about their symptoms, like, hey, should I come in for this, or different things like that. So we've been constantly getting essentially like COVID volunteer opportunities that we could do. So if you want to participate in that, that's something that you could do as well. Obviously do it like within a safe social distancing manner, but if that's something you want to look into, being able to add in that aspect would be a great help overall to whatever hospital system you're in.
I know in prior episodes of this series, some folks have recommended using this as a time to network. You have those emails to any attendings or any people who you know might be good mentors. I know yesterday you mentioned this in May, the virtual conferences, I think this weekend. Great way to potentially network. So yeah, just, you know, filling out those emails, and you could be productive during this time. So, go ahead.
Oh, but I also want to say that for some people that may be burnt out or stressed out, if you need to take this time to just recenter yourself and rest, do what you need to do. Come up with goals that you have for yourself, and then take this time to reflect, figure out how you're going to achieve those goals, and then ultimately, when you're ready, start attacking them. But sometimes I feel like that it's overstressed that you need to get XYZ done so that when you come out of quarantine, you're like, oh my gosh, this is what I have to show for it. And sometimes what you have to show for it is just a whole better, improved, healthy person on the inside. So if you need to do you, boo, do you.
It is real. I know also for the M2s and M3s who've had their board exams delayed, you know, it could be a silver lining. More time to study, more time to kind of, you know, just take it slow and review them Yankees.
Yeah.
That's it. All right, so another question, kind of going back to the third year theme. How did you approach attendings during your aways? I know you guys said you didn't necessarily have aways, but how did you approach attendings for letters of rec? When did you approach them, and who did you approach for letters of rec?
I think this is where like the wisdom of discernment comes in. Who did you connect with the most? Who did you work with the most? And also understanding, like also reading the room, reading the person, and what kind of person that person is. For my audition rotations, I actually asked the attendant that I work with the most, especially if it's like a head of the department. That's the person that usually, actually the first day of my auditions, I usually know who's the head of the department and who I'm working with and how I can get to the person I need to get to. And so just having that groundwork and just knowing like who you have to impress. And sometimes it is, you know, it is a delicate dance sometimes, and you have to like who to impress and like, you know, who to talk to. And mostly just be your best, especially with your attendant. I mean, do your best all the time, but you know, do your best when your attendant is there. Don't slack, come early, and let them know that you're really interested. Because sometimes some of the people I've worked with, they just didn't show that much interest, or like they just didn't care. So just showing like, you know, you really want to be there, you want to be the institution, and also just showing what you can bring to the table. By the end of the day, you know, be nice, be relatable, be able to work with. There will be times where it'll be like high stressor environments, be able to keep your cool. Be able to keep your cool, especially like on days that are like really difficult and really long and everybody's being on edge. Just being able to keep your cool and be friendly. And ask I usually would ask during the last week or like the third week. I would ask the third week, and like I would send them like a format of like my personal my resume, and I usually would ask like the Friday or the Thursday on the third week.
Yeah, and kind of piggybacking off of what you said, two things I would say is be prepared for when they ask, because 99.99% of the people that ask are going to ask for your personal statement, and they're going to ask for your CV. So I would just have that ready, like right off the bat before you even ask them. So I know it's probably one of our least favorite things that we have to do, but having your personal statement ready will be a big help to you. I also would make like phrasing how you ask for the letter of recommendation is a big deal. I always like to ask, do you feel comfortable writing me a letter of recommendation, or would you be able to write me like a strong letter of recommendation? Because anybody that worked with you could technically write you a letter of recommendation, but that doesn't tell you how good it's going to be. So I always like to ask, are you comfortable writing me a letter of recommendation? Because if they say that they're not comfortable for you, it's like that you're not getting a letter, but they're doing you a service because they're not going to give you a letter that's not good. So I would just make sure I phrase it that way so you can get a letter that's best for you.
And also, just to quickly piggyback, I actually know someone who asked an attendant for a letter of recommendation, and the attendant wrote her like a mediocre letter, and she was wondering why she wasn't getting interviews. And one person told her, like, look, they gave you like a really bad letter. And so I think asking for a positive, strong and positive letter.
And I agree with what everyone's said already. I think you have to make sure that your letter is good and positive. I sat on the admissions committee for my college for a few years, and trust me, when the bad ones come across your screen, they're pretty bad. So you want to make sure you get this right. And I think the best ones that I've had were ones where I've had uncomfortable conversations with that attending. And what that means is I am very, it does not bother me to ask someone for feedback. So if I thought that someone could write me a letter of recommendation, about halfway through working with them, I would ask to meet with them. And then I would ask them, what can I do to be better? What are some things that you like that I've done, but what can I do to be better? And not everyone wants to hear that because that's an uncomfortable conversation. But once they tell you that thing and then you do it the next few days, in their eye, you are a star because you're someone who's teachable, you're someone who takes feedback well, like you make their day. I think that if you do have the opportunity to midway through your interaction with your letter writer, just ask them, hey, how is this going? How can I improve? I'm interested in being in this field. They want you in that field. Everyone wants you in their field. They do. That'll really help. And what Derek said, having that CV and that personal statement letter done is important, because you don't want to just give them like completely nothing to go off of, because they've only, in my instance, two of my letter writers had only worked with me for 2 weeks. They don't have any idea what I've done with the rest of my life. So you want to make sure that you have that ready and prepared for them when you ask.
And one more, for internal medicine, you don't always have to have internal medicine. You can also have some subspecialties.
So along the same vein of ultimately going towards application season, how do you guys approach the application? How many places did you apply to? And then do you feel like sharing how many interviews did you go on? Do you have any regrets about the process? Anything you do differently?
Yeah, so applying to med school, applying for residency is kind of a game. The ERAS application doesn't take nearly as long as the AMCAS application, and then there are no secondary applications. And you don't have to do like the typing in your experiences or whatnot. You just send your CV, which is really nice. I applied to 30 places and I interviewed at 13, I believe. Most of the places I applied to were in the Midwest, so everything was within driving distance. As we all know, one of the big things that comes with interview season is cost, especially when you're getting interviews at the last minute, and then you have to book a flight at the last minute, and then you have to book a hotel at the last minute as well. So for me, I think 30 that was a pretty good amount. I think maybe there been a couple more I could have applied to, But I mean, for medicine, for the most part, they say once you get about 10 or 12 interviews, that's generally where you feel safe that you will match somewhere. I think for me, it's in terms of filling out the application, it's just like staying on top of everything. It's very, with rotations going on, it can be very like something you put to the side of your mind. Cause at least for me, when I was filling it out, I was still doing my sub-internship rotation. So there was a lot of stuff going on while I was filling out the application, but just kind of staying on top of it, and then staying organized, download a Google Calendar, so you can have where you're going to your interviews properly organized. So, you know, hey, like this day I'm going to be interviewing at this place and whatnot. And then another thing for interview season, I just like to make sure that I didn't have more than 2 interviews in a week, because you do get tired. During interview season, I was told that, and I didn't really believe it until like by the 6th one, I was just like, this is exhausting. So.
Yeah, Tito?
Oh, I think he's talking, but
Oh, I'm muted. Sorry.
Sure.
I can't get the Zoom etiquette down. Along with Derek was saying, be prepared, because it is exhausting, and not only like financially, but mentally and emotionally exhausting. For me, I applied originally to about 20 places, and the interviews did not start rolling in. I was underwhelmed, and my administration said to me, hey, you need to ramp it up, apply to more programs. In my mind, I was like, okay, that's more money, and like, why aren't the 20 programs I applied to sending me invites? So it was kind of a gut check. And that's hard to deal with, especially when you're a type A person and you think that you're the best star ever. Why not me? Why not me? But it's very humbling. Be prepared for it emotionally. I knew that there were certain places that I wanted to end up, and I knew deep down inside that was enough for me, but that was specific to me, not specific to everyone else. You have to really know yourself. Don't apply to programs that you truly won't see yourself being at. And for me, that was like smaller community type programs. Though I would have given me the numbers my administration might have liked, I knew that that's not where I wanted to be. So I stayed true to that. And I knew that it would somehow work out. I mean, I only got an interview at one medical school, and I'm now graduated. So I was like, all right, we're doing this only one thing again, Trent. Let's get this show on the road. So, but if that happens, and it's uncomfortable, but it'll get better. Stay true to yourself and your character and your values. In terms of interviewing, your character is very important. Whether I was interviewing at a school or a hospital that I went to just because it was a nice location, for example, like I like beaches. I'm not going to name the program, but this program was like on the other side of the United States, on the other side of Los Angeles, real nice. I was still on my best behavior because they invited me out there, and they put me up in a hotel room and gave me dinner. So I was still true to my character, and it's important because if you're not, it can come back to haunt you. And I've had experiences when I've been in rooms with people who are interviewing me or at an interview dinner, and they ask me, oh, we saw that you're here, or you're interacting with this particular person, and you want to make sure whatever you're saying to people is 100% the truth, because the community is small. Like medicine seems huge, but you never know. You might just get those 2 pulmonologists who are best friends at 2 different institutions interview you, and they may talk. So you want to make sure that whatever you're saying to people is true and genuine.
definitely. And I'm a DO, so most of the places I applied to, I had to do more research to see if they were COMLEX friendly, because with DOs, we usually take COMLEX instead of the USMLE. And so I tailored my application in the schools, the programs I applied to according to that. Eventually, I applied to about 46 schools, mostly like DO-friendly schools, and I had about 15 interviews. I went to 14. The last one, I was too tired. What I did was I front-loaded like the programs that I didn't really want to go to, so I scheduled like my first 4 or 3 programs or programs that I didn't really want to, but they kind of prepared me for, the later programs to come. And so that was good because I was able to like practice and just kind of like work on talking and just having like starting the interview process. It was very expensive. I flew a lot, and fortunately for me, a lot of the programs covered the hotels, so that was good. And eventually, I just knew what I wanted in my program. I wanted like a nice, small knit program that wasn't too big, wasn't too small, that would get a lot of procedures done. And so that's the those are the places I really applied to, and I got what I really wanted. And I think also just knowing what you want. Some programs, very fantastic names and very good reputations. They are very toxic, or some of them can be toxic. And there was the time I actually did an audition for one program. It's the culture there, and so I doing audition reputations, because that's 3 years of unhappy. I'm getting unhappy. You don't want to be happy for the 3 years. So choose something. I'm getting a feedback.
Wait, okay, it's not just me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Is your phone away from your computer?
Yeah, my phone is on.
I don't know. Interesting. Well, it's gone now, so hopefully it stays away. I mean, maybe it's a sign. It's almost time. It's almost that time. It's been about an hour. Thank you all for sharing. I mean, that's pretty much it. I don't know. Do you have any other questions?
Do I have any other questions? Yeah. Just to take it back a little bit, do you have any advice for step one? Are you guys hearing echoing?
A little bit. How long does YouTube subscription last for? We rounding out the time. We don't.
Yeah, does anybody? If you have a YouTube on, go ahead, mute it in the background.
Okay. How about
All
now?
right, that's better.
That was you.
Bet. This whole time.
It was you. Okay. Obviously, you three have been very, very successful in your medical school journeys, going into residencies at really great programs. Do you have any advice for someone who may not have the best scores that wants to go internal med with the hopes of going into a fellowship? Do you have any advice for them?
Work on other aspects of your application. Your application is not great. Well, it depends on where you are. Like if you're a first year or second year, like do more research. If you're a third or fourth year, then work on your personal statement, work on your application. Make sure your application does not have any errors, no grammatical errors on your application. There are some things that you can still change, like audition rotations, shine on your audition rotations, doing more audition rotations. Your grades or your scores cannot be changed, but there's a way you can always spin them. Once you get interviews or like you get through the door, you can always talk or express yourself, but mostly making sure that your application is seamless, no mistakes. Your personal statement is true to you, it tells your story, and you do as much audition rotations as you can.
I completely agree. My board scores from the MCAT up to step 1 up to step 2 are very underwhelming. And on a different platform, you guys can DM me and we can talk more details, like very underwhelming. But I got to where I am today because I played up my strengths. So it's sort of the glass half empty, glass half filled approach. You can either strengthen yourself where you're weak or just like accelerate where you're strong already. And I knew that I'm a more of an in-person interaction type person. So things like doing an away rotation, that was beneficial to me because I look better in person than on paper. I'm sorry, my paper is not that cute. But in person, you can get a better sense of character, better sense of passion. And I really play that up. I do well with networking with people. And I do well with showing people in a live sense, like how I am, how I interact with teams. And I just want all the people out there who maybe have underwhelming scores to know that you are not defined by those scores. If you have passed, that's what they care about. if you have passed. I had a top cardiologist at a major institution look me in my eye and said, but you passed. And I was just stress relieved, because we all think that admissions committees like only will accept this score at these institutions, but they'll accept you if you're the best you.
That's deep.
Man, well said.
Yeah, echoing off of that, just kind of always expanding upon what you're best at. If you love volunteering and that's what you've been passionate about, that's what you've been doing throughout medical school, really shine and highlight those voluntary opportunities. If research has been a big thing for you, like really shine out and kind of bring out those research opportunities in your application. Because to be honest, like none of my interviews did we talk about my step 1 score, but we sure did talk about the research I did. We sure did talk about the volunteering opportunities that I did. So really, you are more than that step 1 score. Step 1 is important, and it is going to be that barrier, but especially for a field like internal medicine, step 1 isn't going to be the end all be all for your application and whether you match or not. So really make sure you shine and highlight those other aspects of your application.
That is real. I mean, I was asked about Black Kids White Coats. Wait, how am I going?
Nelson, come on, man.
There's nothing else going.
Okay.
It's weird, but it was you. But essentially, no, I was saying I was asked about Black Kids White Coats at almost every interview, and I went on damn near like almost 30 interviews for both radiology and the prelim year. So it's almost double. But I had to talk about Black Kids White Coats, and nobody asked me about my scores, about none of that. So yeah, I really echo what you guys said. If you have a passion, make sure it shows through your personal statement, your application, because these people in these admission committees and interviewers, they hear the same stuff every day. They don't want to hear about what you did in the hospital. They don't hear about what makes you you and all the unique things about you. So definitely play to that for sure. And we do have another question on the chat. So someone asked, can DO students apply to MD residency programs or complete a fellowship?
Yes, definitely. Most of the places I did my interviews were actually maybe 50% were DO schools and 50% were MD schools. And especially if you do get a complex score, if you want to increase your chances, especially for fellowship, then I would suggest doing a assembly as well, especially if you're not doing medicine, but want to do a more competitive specialty. But normally for internal medicine, family medicine, psychiatry, complex is usually enough, but some programs will not accept complex, they will only accept USMLE. So do your research, see your residency list. Do they have any DO residents in the past? Third year, second year, first year. See if they've had any DOs in the past, how receptive they are with their complex. And some programs will tell you USMLE only, and some will say USMLE and complex. So make sure that you check and make sure that you don't waste your money with programs that won't even look at you because you're just complex.
Nice. And for transparency's sake, can you go ahead and tell us what complex is?
So complex is the DO, the osteopathic equivalency of the USMLE. So for allopathic schools, which is the MD schools, you guys take the USMLE 1, 2, 3, the USMLE exams. But for osteopathic medical students, we take the complex. So that's the USMLE version of the exam for osteopaths.
Great. Thank you all so much. It's been this time has really flown by. At least for me, it has. Appreciate hearing you all talk about everything and dropping those gems. If do you guys have anything you want to plug, any initiatives, anything social media that you feel kind of driven to plug? If not, no worries.
At TJ Living Life on Insta. But most importantly, stay true to you, y'all. Seriously, that is what's got me to where I am. Not my board scores, not any scores. Like I told you guys, I got into one medical school, and it was because I stayed true to who I am. So do that, and you'll be fine. But you can hit me up on Insta.
Get that ratio up.
Yeah. I do think I have a
I
vision
ain't
board.
mad.
Write up what you want and like what your goals are, and so like doing days where like you're having the worst days, you kind of remind yourself of what you want and how you want to get there. And I guess I have really nothing to plug, but my Instagram, I can't remember. It's yejiday.cc.
You guys can also just you can type it in the chat, and we'll make sure the viewers get to it so we can get you some followers. Don't worry about it.
But yeah, I guess I don't really have anything to add, but just others said, like, stay true to yourself, kind of have a vision and kind of know what you want to do with your life. And I mean, I don't have anything to add except I guess my Instagram, and I think I'm gonna start a Twitter in May. So
Hey.
yeah,
type in the chat and we'll get them out to the good people.
You guys can follow me at. I'm just kidding.
All right, yeah, thank you all so much. Stay safe out there. I appreciate y'all again dropping the gems, and well, to everyone watching, thank you for joining us in this wonderful Thursday evening. And stay safe out there, and tune in next time. If you like this, make sure to share it, send it to anybody who could benefit from it, and tune in next time. Yep, we have another one tomorrow. So
if you all are ever in the Cali area, hit me up. I'll take you to the beach for real. Yeah.
After the pandemic,
my beach is for real. Hold on, I see scents from shade. Bye, y'all. It was great.
Nice meeting you guys.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, nice meeting you all. Bye.